Good morning, and thank you for the introduction. I will add something about my history with tiles. When I first came in Onze-Lieve-Vrouw-Waver in the Ursulinen Institute, I was amazed about the mass of tiles. It is 44,000 square meters of floors and a lot of wall tiles. And when I started to study the history of the marvelous Art Nouveau winter garden, there was nothing written on the Belgian tile industry of the 19th and early 20th century. This resulted in a first book in 1991, and afterwards I became involved with a lot of research on tiles and also on restoration work. I now have given a lot of guest talks and guest courses at the University of Antwerp, Ghent, and I have followed a lot of master theses on restoration, and I've given advice on a lot of tile restorations. I want to share my experience of about 30 years of working together with other specialists on tiles, and I gave my presentation the title, Mastery is in the Detail. You need to look at important details. And I will talk about problems, but also on solutions in preserving authenticity in restoring Art Nouveau ceramic floors and wall tilings. I will try to answer some crucial questions regarding maximization of authenticity in restoration projects, on tiles and tile panels, in Art Nouveau architecture. And as you all know, in the Venice Charter, the main restoration principles for ceramic objects within a museum context were respect for maximum preservation of all original material and restraint towards invisible repair reconstructions. The question is, do these Venice Charter principles also apply for ceramic objects within an architectural context? And I think, if possible, yes, but mostly it is not possible to repair invisible because it damages the visual approach of the architectural object. There is a large variation in type of damage, as my predecessor in her talk on mosaics already showed, depending on the materials that are used and on the application methods, mortar or glue. The place of tiles on and in the building is very important, interior versus exterior, and this leads to a large variation in possible solutions. Let us first look at the wall tiles, which were produced in two main materials, in faience and in stoneware. And I will use the examples of Art Nouveau facades, La Grande Maison de Blanc in Brussels, a house in Blankenberge, a pharmacy in Baeck in the balloon part, and a former shop in Ghent. And I will also look at some Art Nouveau interiors, the Aegidium in Brussels in Saint-Gilles, and the toilet room at the Ursulinen Institute in Onze-Lieve-Vrouw-Waver. First of all, I'll start with a marvelous realization in Brussels, La Grande Maison de Blanc, after restoration, here on the picture. It was about the first large-scale realization with architectural ceramics and tile panels in Belgium. Realized in 1897 with ceramics from La Majolique-Amptine, a small shop, and with tile panels to designs of Privat-Livemont, our Belgian Alphonse Mucha, and these were executed by Bochfrère in La Louvière. The case is now well documented in a scientific article. The project was led by Dominique Driesmans from La Cambre Institute, and the ceramic restoration was done by Christian van Parijs, who is here in the room, and you can meet him and ask him if you have any questions. what has been done? Everything has been cleaned, of course, and then the minor local repairs were done with epoxy fillings. That is not reversible, or hardly reversible, but in an architectural context in our Belgian climate with lots of frost, it is necessary to choose something which is durable. And even the Getty Museum recommends epoxy for filling in small damaged areas, as it allows maximal preservation of authentic material in situ, and it is durable. Missing tiles can, and I quote, easily be replaced by ceramic replica when there is documentary evidence of the design. One of the tile panels had disappeared, was severely damaged, but there were documentary evidence of the original design as the design was published in Decoratieve Voorbeelden, German portfolio work, so it could be reconstructed without any problem. But it is time-consuming. I come back to that. Meeting with actual glazes, with actual technology, with the actual firing techniques, the original colors is not so easy. It takes time, it takes experimentation, and it costs a lot. And that's one of the biggest problems. Most of the restoration projects with ceramics are severely underestimated on the cost part. Another question which popped up, is it possible to reconstruct ceramic elements that are almost completely missing? And I conclude, only in a few cases. In the case of the Maison de Blanc, it was possible. There were a few tiles, one complete tile and a small border of tiles. And luckily, in the same portfolio, there was kept the original design. So it was possible, it was realized with a lot of painful study work and experimentation by Christian. Blankenberge, de Smette Naaierlaan, completely somewhat adapted facade, but with one big problem, the missing parts of the tile panel at the left side. But as it is a mirrored scene, no problem, we could easily copy the missing tiles, make a poncif, and reverse it, and the result is perfect. It guarantees a good result and an authentic result. Third case, Binge, Pharmacie d'Avoine. This was one of the biggest complicated in situ restorations of the last 30 years. It is a huge tile panel with a lot of problems. The case is well documented in a profusely illustrated scientific article. I commend it to the public. It was published in 2013-2015. The restoration of the ceramics was done by Géraldine Buzienne. I did the research on the Helmand factory and the tile panel production there. Louis van den Einde did the study of the building itself, and Christian van Parijs once again did the ceramic reconstructions. There were on the site many different types of damage. There was loss of glaze, there were drill holes, there were breakages of tiles, there was a lot of dirt. Dirt can easily be removed, under low pressure and only after consolidation of all damaged parts. The loss of glaze by external impact and by internal causes, salts for instance, but also frost, could be done and improved by injections, and then it is essential to be able to retain a maximum of original material. Lost smaller parts were filled in and then painted in tone, with what materials. You can read that in the technical report I showed you. Missing parts were replaced by ceramic replicas, and matching the color is not easy, and it takes time again. The result brings back the visual experience of the panels by retaining and protecting a maximum of the original material. And the result is convincing. You need to pass Baeck and look at the realization. It is as new. But there are worse cases. And the worse case was situated in Ghent, a former faience shop. There was a huge problem of lack of original material due to infiltrations of the water and frost. We had to remove the tiles completely as the adherence was not sufficient. And there were also a lot of ceramic filling, missing tiles, replacement of weakened tiles, and that came to a high cost of about 80,000 euros. What was done? Everything was removed due to weak adherence. Only a small part in the right corner could stay in situ. All the other mortar was weakened. That's before the restoration. Missing tiles were replaced by ceramic replica with excellent result by Charlotte de Bisschop. And she made it manually in the ceramic way, also after taking a lot of experimentations. The result, once again, the proud of the neighborhood, looking spanking new, with all the original tiles which were still in situ restored, and the lacuna filled in with new ceramic material. What with wall tiles in the interior? And for that I use the yet unsolved case of the Egidium in Brussels, and also in Saint-Gilles. It is a splendid building with a splendid tiled interior, or I should say once a splendid tiled interior, because it is now severely damaged by later adaptations. The biggest problem there, after a detailed inventory of all the tiles still in situ, made by Sarah Ben-Ruby and myself, was that 8 of the original decorative panels are missing. What are there the solutions? You can make replica based on the existing panels, like we have seen in Blankenberge. You could make a pontcif of a landscape, revert it, and add a copy, a reverted copy, to have a changement of it and to fill in the spaces. There are sufficient panels still existing to take that way. You could also create new landscape schemes inspired on contemporary trade catalogues, but there is only one by Baudou, the man who made the original panels. So you can say, okay, we will take some individual images, but yeah, is that still authentic? The project is on a stand still for years now, and this is only a part of a huge building. As a last case of the wall tiles, the interior wall tiles built up with industrial dust, pressed standard tiles out of the catalogue of one of the factories, form simpler cases. And I see that with the conversion of my presentation, one of the images is turned in a wrong direction. But if you look at the tiling after everything was removed, you see that not only the damage in some areas was rather severe, it was also taken in detail, it was impossible to find the necessary tiles in that quantity in the stocks of specialized dealers. A replacement of qualitative ceramic replica made by specialized firms could have been a solution. However, integration of modern replica spread over different parts of the wall is always visible and in many cases annoying to the eye, so avoidable. What was then here the solution? We had a small cupboard where the same tiles were used. It was a cupboard, nobody passes in that cupboard, so we did tile transplantation. We recovered the necessary tiles from that cupboard and we integrated them in the original toilet room. Beware, removal of tiles, both wall and floor tiles for reuse is highly specialized work. You need diamond sawing techniques and that is rarely calculated in project costs and were not planned before starting the project. Working manually with hammer and chisel leads in many cases to disasters, breakage up to 50% of the original material are guaranteed in that case. And if you see how the diamond saw procedure is, it uses high technology, a very big knowledge of that way of technique. And remember, tiles may never be pushed upwards when breaking them loose from each other or you damage them severely. And to conclude, I will look at floor tiles and whether there are ceramic tiles in stoneware or cement tiles, either poured or dust press, that's the same problem. And I look for that to the encaustic floor tiles in the Ursulinen Institute in Onze-Lieve-Vrouw-Waver, and in particular in and around the Art Nouveau Winter Garden. All floors in the Institute, the 44,000 square meters, were in excellent condition until cleaning machines were introduced in the 1990s. Problem, result, tiles came loose, broke, became chipped. Repair is now ongoing at immense high costs. First, restorations in situ started with removing the tiles by knocking out one complete row and then loosening all the tiles with a crowbar, resulting in more than 50% breakage. Solution, original tiles were re-let within a border of modern plain colored stoneware, pleasing to the eye, but keeping authentic material in situ. Score is null. So we learned from that, and because the restoration of the metal structure of the Art Nouveau Winter Garden needed removal of the complete floor, we took a new approach for removing the floor. The floor was taken into the plans. We did first research on the mortar used. Tests were made to make a realistic time scheme. Cost estimations could be made. After clearing the space, all 16,000 floor tiles were numbered with waterproof labels according to a well-thought-out scheme, because the tiles of that time, they are more or less the same dimensions, but they differ sometimes 1 millimeter to 2 millimeters. And if you replace all without doing that precaution of numbering them, you never arrive to lay the puzzle again. And a puzzle of 16,000 pieces, bonne chance. They were removed one by one using a diamond saw out of the hand. 99% of the tiles remained intact. About 30 of them were broken and could be re-glued and re-let in the realization. All the mortar of the back of every individual tile was removed, also by hand. Result was a sand bank, and then all the tiles were re-let on their original place to avoid problems with slight difference in color, in size, in wear patterns, typical for floors of that period. The result, splendid, respecting the authenticity at a maximum. We needed no difficult search for recuperation of material of the same style. No expensive production of replica was necessary. No development costs for molds needed to be done. And my conclusion, preserving authenticity in the case of floor and wall tiles is often possible if it is planned well in advance, using the right techniques, but in my 30 years of experience, it is mostly not achieved by lack of knowledge. Time and money for a proper preliminary study are rarely provided. The various options are therefore not properly weighed against each other on the basis of realistic budgets. Costs for damage-free removal are rarely realistically estimated, and an unnecessary amount of authentic material, often even more than 50%, is damaged and can no longer be reused. Costs and preparation time for the production of high-quality replicas to supplement missing parts are consistently underestimated, and under financial pressure and by lack of time, the best option is rarely realized. It is not an optimistic conclusion, and to add to it, modern techniques are rarely appropriate in a restoration context. Most of the tile setters glue their tiles and are not anymore aware of setting them in mortar. Floors on sandbedding experience has been lost to use that technique, and that's a huge problem too. Useful professional literature is also far too little known, and what to do? You can always contact a few specialists in the world. They are there, and if you want to have contact in Belgium, you can always contact my museum or myself. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mario.